Okay, let's try and unpack this. Google I/O 25 was, well, it was a lot.
It really was a whirlwind.
Yeah. Since the last I/O, they've dropped, what, over a dozen new AI models, research breakthroughs, plus more than 20 major AI products and features. I mean, the pace is just, it's staggering. It feels less like progress and more like a quantum leap or something.
It does. And I think what's really striking is just the sheer density of it all.
Yeah.
You know, how much happened in that relatively short time frame. It really signals an acceleration, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And well, that's exactly what we want to dig into today. We're going to sift through the biggest announcements, the key insights from that keynote.
Right.
Think of this as like your highlights reel for the cutting edge of AI. We want you to get a real sense of where things are headed, its potential impact, but, you know, without getting totally lost in the technical weeds.
Yeah, trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
Because they covered so much ground, didn't they? From the core AI models themselves getting smarter to all these new ways AI is popping up in apps, changing how we communicate, how we search, how we create things, even accessibility.
Exactly. So our mission, if you will, for you listening is pretty simple. Walk away feeling informed, maybe even a bit excited about what's happening, but definitely not overwhelmed.
Hopefully sparking some curiosity, too.
Ah, exactly. Get those light bulb moments going. So, okay, there's so much. Where do we even start?
Well, I think it usually makes sense to start right at the foundation, the core models that power everything else. They definitely highlighted some pretty big leaps there.
Okay, yeah, lay it on us. What's new with the brains behind the operation?
So one number that jumped out was Gemini Pro's ELO score. They said it's up by over 300 points since the first generation.
Whoa, okay, 300 point. Remind us, ELO is like a skill rating, right? Like in chess.
Exactly. So a 300-point jump is, well, it's significant.
Yeah.
It suggests a really substantial improvement in its ability to understand, to reason, to respond effectively to complex stuff.
So it's not just incrementally better, it's like fundamentally more capable. Does that mean better reasoning, more reliable answers, that kind of thing?
That's the implication, yeah.
Yeah.
It points towards handling more abstract ideas, more complex relationships in the data, moving beyond just spotting patterns to something maybe closer to, genuine understanding. And we're seeing proof points too. Gemini 2.5 Pro apparently hit the #1 spot on the LMArena leaderboard.
Okay.
Across all categories.
Yeah.
Which is, a pretty strong signal. And they really emphasized its coding skills too. #1 on the WebDev Arena beat the last version by like 142 ELO points.
So it's getting smarter overall, and it's becoming a seriously good coder. That's a powerful mix.
Definitely. And speaking of coding, or maybe sort of sequential tasks, they showed Gemini playing through Pokemon Blue.
Okay, Pokemon Blue, that sounds fun. But what's the AI takeaway there?
Well, yeah, it's a bit fun. But the point they were making was about its improved ability to handle tasks that need multiple steps in a specific order. Like following a game storyline.
Ah, okay. Sequential reasoning.
Exactly. That's crucial for more complex stuff AI needs to do, like planning or executing multi-step instructions.
Got it. So playing Pokemon isn't just a gimmick, it's demonstrating that deeper problem-solving skill.
Right.
What's powering all this? Is it just better algorithms, or is there hardware involved too?
Oh, definitely hardware. They unveiled their 7th Gen TPU tensor processing unit. It's called Ironwood.
Ironwood. Okay.
Designed specifically for these huge AI workloads. And they're claiming a 10x performance increase over the last gen.
10 times. Wow.
Yeah. And it'll be available for Google Cloud customers later this year.
Okay, 10x faster. What does that actually mean for us or for developers using it? Faster responses, cheaper AI.
Both, potentially. That's the interesting part.
Yeah.
By making the hardware so much more powerful and efficient, they can essentially shift what they call the Pareto frontier.
Okay, economics term. Break that down.
It basically means they can offer AI that's either much better for the same cost or the same level of performance for a lower cost, or somewhere in between. It breaks that old trade-off. Better and cheaper, or more efficient anyway.
Gotcha. More performance per dollar, essentially. Faster, better, cheaper AI. That sounds good. But are people actually using all this power? What did they say about adoption?
The numbers were pretty wild, actually. They talked about token processing. Think of tokens as pieces of words the AI handles. It jumped from 9.7 trillion monthly to 480 trillion monthly in 1 year.
Wait, 9.7 to 480 trillion, that's like a 50x increase.
Exactly. It just shows this massive surge in how much AI is being used.
Mind-boggling scale.
Yeah.
And developers, are they jumping on board with the Gemini APIs?
Seems like it. They said over 7 million developers are now using the Gemini API. That's a 5x growth.
7 million. Okay.
And inside Google's own stuff, it's everyone. The Gemini app, over 400 million monthly active users. AI overviews and search, over 1.5 billion monthly users.
1.5 billion people using AI overviews every month. Okay, that really puts the scale into perspective. AI isn't just some lab experiment anymore. It's deeply integrated.
Definitely.
So the foundation's strong, adoption's huge. What's next? Where did they focus after the core model updates?
A really big theme was communication and interaction, making AI help us connect better, both with each other and with the AI itself, making it feel more natural.
Ah, okay. Like making video calls feel less flat or breaking down language barrier.
It's exactly that kind of thing. They introduced something called Google Beam.
Beam.
Yeah. It's this AI-first 3D video communication platform. It uses like an array of 6 cameras and AI to turn your normal 2D video into a much more immersive 3D experience, apparently with really good head tracking.
Ooh, 3D video calls, like holographic almost.
Getting there, maybe. The idea is to make it feel much more like you're actually in the room with the person. They're partnering with HP to get it out to early customers later this year.
That sounds very sci-fi, but potentially really cool for remote work or staying connected. What else on the communication front?
Real-time speech translation in Google Meet. That was another big one.
Ooh, okay. Built right in.
Yep. Starting with English and Spanish for subscribers, more languages coming, then eventually for enterprise users too.
That is a game changer for international teams. Did they say anything about how good it is? Does this sound robotic?
They claimed it can actually match the speaker's tone and even expressions, trying to keep that natural flow even across languages. Showed an example of someone booking a vacation rental in Spanish without knowing the language. Looked pretty smooth.
Wow. Preserving tone and flow. That's the holy grail for translation, isn't it? Okay, what else for interaction?
Gemini Live is getting an upgrade. They're pulling in capabilities from Project Astra.
Astra. That's the one that can see and understand the world through the camera, right?
Exactly. So Gemini Live will be able to use the camera and even screen sharing for real-time help. You can show it something or show it your screen, and it can understand and assist.
Okay, so visual assistance baked into the chat.
Right. They even had some funny examples like Gemini gently correcting someone who thought a garbage truck was a convertible.
Huh. I think I saw that clip. So it's not just identifying, it's understanding context and maybe applying some common sense.
Seems like it. And moving towards more proactive help, they introduced Project Mariner.
Mariner.
It's a research prototype, an AI agent that can actually go out and interact with the web for you, do tasks online.
Like browse websites and fill out forms.
Yeah, potentially. They said it can handle up to 10 tasks at once, and it has this teach and repeat feature. You show it how to do something once, and it learns to do similar things later.
Okay, that sounds powerful. An AI assistant that learns by watching you. That could automate a ton of boring online stuff. Is that just research or is it usable?
They're making it available via the Gemini API so developers can build on it.
Yeah.
Companies like Automation, Anywhere, UiPath are already looking at it.
Ah, okay.
And this ties into something called Agent Mode in the Gemini app.
Agent mode.
Yeah, for tackling more complex multi-step tasks. The example was finding an apartment for multiple roommates with, specific needs, budget, location, amenities.
Right, a classic tricky search.
So Gemini, using Agent Mode, could theoretically integrate with Zillow, use Project Mariner to filter listings based on all those criteria, and even use something called Model Context Protocol, or MCP, to schedule viewing appointments.
Wow. Okay, so Gemini is evolving from just answering questions to actually doing things for you, finding apartments, booking stuff. That's a big step up.
It really is.
Now, you mentioned personalization earlier, too. How's AI getting better at understanding me specifically?
That's where this concept of personal context comes in.
Okay.
The idea is, with your permission and they stressed, privacy, transparency, user control, Gemini can use relevant info from your other Google apps, like your Gmail, Drive, Calendar.
To do what? Make responses more relevant.
Exactly. To provide more tailored, helpful answers based on your own stuff. Instead of just generic AI responses, it's aware of your context.
Okay, that could be really useful, but also sounds like something people might be wary of. How did they frame the privacy angle?
They emphasized it's opt-in, you have control, you can see what it's using, you can turn it off. That seemed to be a key message.
Right. Give me an example. How would personal context actually work?
Okay, the one they showed was personalized smart reply in Gmail. Imagine a friend emails you asking for road trip advice, maybe for a trip similar to one you took.
Okay.
Instead of just suggesting generic driving apps, Gemini, using personal context, could look at your notes about that trip in Google Drive, maybe find old emails where you booked hotels,
Yep.
look at your itinerary doc,
Wow.
and then draft a really detailed, personalized reply based on your actual experience, maybe even mimicking your writing style a bit.
That's actually incredibly useful. It's like having a personal assistant who remembers everything you've done, saves so much digging around. Okay, so that's context. What about the next generation of the Gemini models themselves? Any new versions announced?
Yeah, they introduced Gemini 2.5 Flash.
Flash. So faster.
Faster, more efficient. Yeah. They called it their workhorse model. But, impressively, even being optimized for speed and cost, it's apparently still number 2 on that LMArena leaderboard, just behind 2.5 Pro.
So fast and efficient, but still really smart.
Exactly. Designed for applications where speed and cost are key, but you still need high quality. It's going into general availability in early June.
Good to know. Any other new capabilities baked into these 2.5 models?
Some interesting text-to-speech upgrades. It can now handle multiple distinct speakers in one audio output.
Oh, like generating a dialogue between two different voices?
Yeah, seamlessly switching between two voices. And native audio output, which should mean more natural expressive speech, not just reading text aloud.
Better AI voices are always welcome. What else?
Something called thought summaries. This is more for developers using the Gemini API or Vertex AI.
Thought summaries. What does that mean?
It gives more transparency into how the model arrived at its answer. Like, it shows the reasoning steps it took internally.
Oh, interesting. So developers can see the AI's thinking process.
Exactly. Which is super valuable for debugging, for understanding why it gave a certain response, making sure it's reasoning correctly.
Yeah, I can see that being huge for building reliable applications, like opening the black box a little bit.
Right. And related to managing resources, they also announce thinking budgets for both Flash and Pro.
Thinking budgets, like controlling how much thinking it does.
Sort of. It gives developers finer control over the compute resources used for a query so they can balance cost versus latency or response time.
More knobs to turn for optimization. Developers will probably like that. Now, coding seemed to be a big focus throughout. Any more coding-specific updates?
Oh, yeah. They did this really cool demo in Google AI Studio. They basically gave Gemini 2.5 Pro an image prompt, like a sketch.
Okay.
And it generated the code for a working 3D animation for a web app using libraries like 3.js.
Just from an image, it wrote the code for 3D animation.
Yeah, the speed from just having a visual idea to seeing an interactive element was pretty impressive. Could really speed up prototyping and development.
Absolutely. That could change workflows. And wasn't there an AI coding assistant mentioned too?
Yes, Jules. Their asynchronous coding agent.
Jules. Asynchronous meaning it works in the background.
Right. It's now in public beta. It's designed for more complex, longer-running coding tasks, like automatically updating all the Node.js versions across your GitHub repos, for example.
Okay, so it tackles the heavier lifting, the background maintenance stuff.
Exactly. Frees up human developers for more creative or strategic coding, like an AI teammate handling the chores.
Nice. Any more fundamental AI model stuff? Pushing the architecture?
They talked about Gemini Diffusion, an experimental model.
Diffusion models are usually for images, right? This is for text.
Yes, a text diffusion model. The key benefit seems to be speed. They claim it's about 5x faster for text generation than their previous 2.0 flashlight model, but still matches it on coding tasks.
5 times faster generation, that's huge for things like chatbots or real-time text applications.
Definitely. They showed it solving a math problem almost instantly. Low latency seems to be the goal there.
Okay. And one more thing, DeepThink Mode. That sounds serious.
It does. DeepThink is an experimental mode for Gemini 2.5 Pro. It uses more advanced reasoning techniques to really push its problem-solving limits.
Advanced reasoning, like for really hard problems.
Yeah, they mentioned its performance on super challenging benchmarks, like the USAMO for Math Olympiad problems and Live Code Bench for complex coding challenges. It's currently only with trusted testers, though.
So DeepThink is like the ultra-high performance setting for Gemini, tackling the really thorny problems.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Pushing the absolute frontier of its reasoning capabilities.
Now, stepping back a bit, they also frame some of this in a bigger vision, talking about Gemini becoming a world model. What do they mean by that?
The idea, as I understand it, is moving beyond just processing information towards being able to actively plan, reason about consequences, maybe even imagine possibilities by simulating the world internally.
Simulating the world, like running little physics engines in its head.
Kind of analogous to that, yeah. Building an internal representation of how things work and interact, which allows for better planning and prediction. It's a very ambitious goal.
Hugely ambitious. How are they actually trying to build that? What are the pieces?
They pointed to a few related projects. Genie 2, which can generate interactive 3D simulated environments just from a single image.
They generate a whole 3D world from one picture.
Yeah. And VO, their video generation model, which apparently has a good grasp of intuitive physics, how objects should move and interact realistically.
Okay, so generating simulated worlds and realistic motion.
Right. And also Gemini Robotics, which is a version specialized for teaching robots physical tasks in the real world.
So it's about giving the AI a sense of physical reality, whether simulated or actual, through robots. And this all feeds back into making the main Gemini app more capable.
That seems to be the goal. They talked about the Gemini app evolving into a universal AI assistant.
Universal AI assistant.
Personal, proactive,
Yep.
powerful. A key step towards, the ultimate goal of AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Right.
And they showed how Project Astra's capabilities are being folded into Gemini Live to support this. Better voice output, using that native audio, better memory, even the ability to control your computer.
Control the computer.
Yeah, the demo showed it helping someone fix a bike, using the camera, remembering previous steps, and potentially interacting with software tools needed for the repair.
Wow. An assistant that sees, hears, remembers, and can interact with both the physical world and your digital tools. That's a powerful vision.
It really is.
Okay, let's shift gears. Something that affects basically everyone online. Google search, they obviously had some big AI news there too.
Absolutely. Huge focus on search. First, they highlighted how well AI overviews are doing, that 1.5 billion monthly user number we mentioned, apparently boosting user satisfaction and how often people search.
So AI summaries are working well, but they announced something bigger, right? AI mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
AI mode. They're calling it a reimagined search experience. It's basically a new tab in search rolling out in the US first, and it's powered by Gemini 2.5.
Reimagined how? How is AI mode different from just having AI overviews on the normal results page?
It's built for longer, more complex questions, stuff that requires pulling information from many different places. It uses a technique called query fan-out.
Query fan-out.
Yeah, it breaks your complex question down into lots of smaller, related sub-questions and searches for those simultaneously across the web, then synthesizes the results. Plus, it integrates real-time data.
Okay, so it's like having a research team working on your question inside search. Deeper dives, more comprehensive answers for complex stuff.
That's the idea.
What kind of new features are coming specifically to this AI mode?
They previewed some things in AI mode labs. One is using that personal context we talked about.
Bringing my personal info into search results.
Potentially. Like, if you ask for restaurant ideas, it could look at your Gmail for dietary preferences you've mentioned, or suggest art exhibits based on artists you've emailed about.
Personalized search results.
Okay, they also mentioned deep search,
Deep search.
aiming to generate expert-level reports on complex topics, complete with citations, and also capabilities for complex data analysis and visualization, like analyzing sports stats or financial data right in search.
Whoa. Generating cited research reports on the fly, analyzing complex data. That's moving way beyond just finding web links.
Definitely. And they're bringing in those agent capabilities too. Project Mariner again.
So AI mode could actually do things based on my search.
That's the plan. Things like booking tickets for an event you searched for, or making a restaurant reservation right from the AI mode interface.
Search becoming an action engine, not just an information engine.
Got it. What about visual search? Using the camera.
Yeah, Google Lens is already huge, right? 1.5 billion monthly users there too. So they're bringing Project Astra's live capabilities into AI mode with a feature called Search Live.
Search Live. So point my camera at something and ask, search about it.
Exactly. Get real-time help, point it at a broken appliance for DIY help, at a homework problem, at something you want to learn how to do. Live visual assistance. That could be incredibly useful, like having an expert looking over your shoulder. The homework example is powerful.
For sure. And finally, within AI mode, they showed enhanced AI-powered shopping.
More AI in shopping. How?
Things like visual inspiration if you're just browsing, better personalized recommendations like suggesting durable rugs if you say you have kids.
Okay, smart recommendations.
A virtual try-on feature for clothes, using a custom image generation model to show it on you.
Virtual try-on. That's cool.
And even agentic checkout, like AI handling parts of the purchase process, maybe tracking prices and buying automatically when it drops.
Whoa, automatic purchasing. Online shopping is definitely getting an AI overhaul. Okay, shifting again. Creativity. Generative AI for music, video. What was new there?
Well, on the music front, they talked about Music AI Sandbox and Lyria 2 getting better, aiming for really high-fidelity music generation. They even showed a collaboration with the musician Shankar Mahadevan.
Right. And responsible AI is important here too, right? Fake music, fake videos.
Absolutely. They mentioned Syntheite again, their tool for invisible watermarking of AI-generated media. And crucially, they announced the new Syntheite detector, so people can actually check if something has that watermark.
Okay, watermarking and detecting, that's important for trust. What about video? VO seemed like a big deal before I.O.
It was. They showcased a partnership with the filmmaker Darren Aronofsky and Eliza McNitt on a project called Ancestra. It uses VO to blend real live-action footage with AI-generated visuals for cinematic storytelling.
Using AI video gen for actual movies. Interesting.
Right. And they went further, introducing a tool called Flow.
Flow.
Yeah, a new AI filmmaking tool. It basically combines VO for video, Imagen for images, and Gemini for understanding, all into one workflow for creators.
An integrated AI filmmaking suite. What can it do?
Demos showed things like uploading concept art or storyboards, generating video assets, building scenes with precise camera controls, keeping characters looking consistent across different shots, even extending existing clips.
Wow. That sounds like it could seriously change how films and videos get made, lowering the barrier quite a bit.
Potentially, yeah. Democratizing creation seems to be a theme.
And did this tie into any new subscription plans offering these advanced tools?
It did. They announced new Google AI subscription tiers. There's Pro, which is going global with enhanced features, and then Ultra, launching in the US first.
Ultra? What's an Ultra?
Higher usage limits, plus early access to the really cutting-edge stuff like that DeepThink Mode we talked about, and Flow with the latest VO3 model. It also bundles YouTube Premium and more storage.
Okay, so Pro for general power users, Ultra for the real enthusiasts and pros wanting the absolute latest AI toys. Makes sense.
Exactly.
All right, let's move from the digital and creative into the physical world. They talked about Android XR. What is that exactly?
So Android XR is basically their new platform for immersive devices, headsets, glasses. Building on Android, but specifically for extended reality.
Okay. Why now? What's the vision?
They see Android as the best platform for AI experiences, and they want to bring Gemini and AI into more form factors, watches, cars, TVs, and now XR.
Extending Android beyond phones and tablets into VR and AR. Did they show any actual devices?
They did. Samsung's working on the first Android XR headset, codenamed Project Muhan.
Muhan. Okay.
It's tightly integrated with Gemini. They showed demos like exploring Google Maps in immersive XR or watching an MLB game with real-time stats overlaid visually.
Immersive maps and live sports stats. Cool. What about glasses? That's often seen as the harder challenge.
Yeah, they showed concepts for Android XR glasses too.
Yeah.
The goal is lightweight, all-day wearability, camera, mics, speakers, maybe a small in-lens display.
AI glasses you can wear all day. That's the dream for some people. What could they actually do?
They did a live demo backstage, showed Gemini on the glasses doing things like identifying a band playing nearby just by listening.
Wow.
Finding specific photos on your phone, playing music you ask for, reading info off a coffee cup you're looking at.
Reading text in the real world?
Yeah. Getting directions, booking a quick coffee meeting based on your conversation, taking photos with voice commands, a whole range of quick contextual tasks.
That sounds incredibly useful, like a truly aware assistant. What about language?
They demoed live translation right on the glasses. Someone speaking Hindi, someone else Farsi, with the translations appearing visually.
Live translation floating in your vision. That is seriously next level. Are these just Google prototypes or are others building them?
They announced partnerships with Gentlemaster and Warby Parker.
Oh, actual fashion and eyewear brands.
Exactly. To make stylish glasses people would actually want to wear, powered by Android XR. Developer access for the glasses platform is coming later this year.
Getting the style right is key for glasses. That makes sense. Okay, finally, they wrapped up by touching on AI for good, right? The broader societal impact.
Yeah, it's always important to see that side. They highlighted examples like FireSat for spotting wildfires really quickly using satellite imagery and AI.
That's critical work.
And Wing, their drone delivery service, using AI for logistics during disaster relief, like after Hurricane Helene.
Using AI and drones for disaster response. Great examples.
And they look forward to mentioning possibilities like helpful robots in healthcare or elder care, AI accelerating discoveries for disease treatments, building fault-tolerant quantum computers, pushing autonomous vehicles further.
So reminding us that beyond the cool apps and gadgets, the goal is also to tackle really big, important challenges.
Right. Sundar Pichai even shared a personal story about his dad using Waymo, their self-driving car service, and how empowering that was, just grounding the tech in real human benefit.
It's a good way to frame it, the transformative potential on a personal level.
Yeah, it brings it home.
Well, okay, that was a lot to cover. We went through foundational models, communications, search, creativity, XR. It really feels like AI is just weaving itself into everything now.
It absolutely is. The pace and the breadth of what Google showed at I/O25 is just immense. From the core intelligence getting stronger to all these new ways it's showing up in our tools and potentially our physical world.
The potential impact on daily life, on how we create, how we find information, maybe even scientific discovery. It feels profound.
Yeah.
So for you listening, after hearing all that, what's the thing that jumps out most? Is it the agentic AI doing tasks for you, the creative tools, the XR glasses? It really makes you think, doesn't it? Where is all this heading?
It really does. It's clearly a journey, not a destination. And I/O25 gave us a really fascinating snapshot of where we are right now and a glimpse of what's just around the corner.